Wonderful day, everyone. It's time for another episode of the Opinionated thoughtbotter. My name is Svenja Schäfer. I'm a team lead and developer here at thoughtbot. The name, the Opinionated thoughtbotter, suggested probably, but let me give you a brief idea of what it is. It's some form of interview between me and a fellow colleague about one of their opinions. Each interview is around 30 minutes long, which will give you enough time to leave comments afterwards. Back to today's episode. As you can see, I'm not alone. With me is Chad. And while many of you might know him already, let's make sure everyone is aware of who you are. Can you say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chad Pytel. I'm the founder and CEO of thoughtbot. I'm a designer and developer, and I started thoughtbot just almost 24 years ago.
That's a long time.
It's way too long, but time flies when you're having fun. So
yeah, that's true. Thanks so much for joining. As mentioned, usually we discuss one opinion. Today, we will spice things up a little bit because we're going to talk about common objections. So let's start with the first one. What is your first objection?
Well, I'm going to phrase it a little bit positively. And that investment time is the best way to serve clients.
Love that. I know what investment time is. You know what investment time is. Some other people might not know it. What is investment time? What do you mean?
So at thoughtbot, one of our values is continuous improvement. And what kind of company or person would say that they don't want to improve? Well, everyone says that they want to improve, but what makes it special and important at thoughtbot is the idea of continuous improvement. And if you don't set aside time on a regular basis to actually reflect on the ways that you work and make improvements, then it doesn't happen. And what happens at a lot of companies is too much time goes by and you accrue all of this sort of improvement debt. And then you end up making big disruptive improvements or changes, or worst case scenario, you never end up making the change because it seems insurmountable. When you practice continuous improvement, you don't need to solve the insurmountable problem. You just need to make tomorrow better than today. If you can make tomorrow better than today, next week better than this week, then day after day, week after week, that leads to incredible change over time. So continuous improvement is the way to make incredible change. And the way that we do that at thoughtbot is by setting aside time outside of client work for improving ourselves, becoming better and faster at what we do, improving the company, and improving our community. And through that way of setting aside that time, which we call investment time, because we wanted to pick a word which is meaningful in terms of we're spending that time in order to get a return on that investment. So when we spend that time, we get the return of the improvements that we make or the new thing that we create or becoming better and faster at what we do. So that's investment time.
Thanks. I do see how it is. So continuous improvement, investment time is I invest in thoughtbot, in knowledge, in improving myself, the company and everything. How does that serve clients?
Well, it serves clients in two primary ways. The first is the reason why they want to work with us is because we are good. And the reason why we are good is because we spend time becoming good. The other is what happens at traditional consulting companies. Say that someone's working with us full time, then all of the stuff that needs to happen for thoughtbot throughout the week, or that needs to happen for that other agency throughout the week, takes time away from the clients. It means missed expectations, lack of improvement because that time's not being spent. By carving out specific scheduled time that we can make available to all of the thoughtbot stuff that needs to happen, then we become more productive for our clients in the time that we're focused on them, because our attention is not being pulled away towards the other things that need to happen. And when you work with another agency that's not doing that, then the consultant's time is being sporadically, unpredictably pulled away from the work for you at different intervals, different times, in different ways. So actually establishing a regular cadence for that is really beneficial to the clients that we work with.
Yeah, I really agree. And also, like, you're never alone during investment time. So you pair, you collaborate. And for example, if I have a tricky thing in one client, I could spend time during investment time to pair with my colleagues on it. So yeah, I see that the client could benefit from that then.
Yeah, and something that someone else does during their investment time can be brought over to your project. So that can be everything from a knowledge of how to solve a tricky problem that they've taught you, or it could be the open source projects that we create. They make us better and faster at the ways that we work. So something gets created during investment time, and then we're able to use it on client work to accomplish more for clients. And if we don't have that time, then that open source either never gets created in the first place or languishes in a way even worse than we already do.
Yeah. Is it tricky? I honestly don't know. Is it tricky to convince clients of the benefit of investment time?
I think for some people, it is a foreign concept that is really difficult for them to grasp, because perhaps they've only worked in cultures of non-continuous improvement, or they are saying, no, I need a hired gun to just accomplish as much as possible in the shortest amount of time possible. The reality is the results speak for themselves. So when you start to work with us and you see the quality and the cadence and what investment time allows us to accomplish, those objections just go away. The results speak for themselves.
Can you think of any, what are your favorite investment time projects?
Of mine personally, or,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, investment time, being in the CEO role, having lots of sales conversations with people, lots of estimating, understanding, the majority of my investment time over the years has gone towards just staying on doing development and staying as a developer. Because left to its own devices, I think a lot of developers in my position get further and further away from actually doing development. And so carving aside time for actually doing development, staying on top of things, improving myself, learning Hotwire and the new things in Rails has been very important to me, not only from a productivity and staying very close to the work that we do perspective, but also from a fulfillment perspective for me. I know that I would be unhappy if I didn't have that time to do that. So that's been the focus of my investment time over the years. And lately I've been doing a lot of exploration of AI tools, features, that kind of thing, because staying on top of that and having understanding of what's possible and what the ecosystem is not only important for me, but then bringing that back to the thoughtbot team through AI and focus and those kinds of efforts has been important to me.
I would also be very, very sad if I wouldn't have investment time. Okay, what's your next one?
So that hourly rate is not the full picture of cost. So many clients come to us and they want to just know what our hourly rate is. And I understand it, because what they're looking for is something that they can compare apples to apples to companies against each other. Oh, this company is more expensive. This company is less expensive. I have the information I need in order to make a decision. That is completely wrong, because it's not the full picture of what the cost is going to be. There's few ways where that's the case. Our teams tend to be much smaller than other teams because we are a team of more experienced people that believes in direct communication with clients. Our typical team size, if we're building a product or working on it, is 3 to 4 people, sometimes even smaller. Whereas someone else might be quoting you a lower hourly rate, but their team that they're going to put on it is 10 people, 7 people, 2 or 3 times more people than we will have on it. So just trying out of the gate to compare hour rate per hour rate is not going to give you a picture of the full cost. Another factor is how quick it's going to be. So if we're able to accomplish the project in 12 weeks and someone else is going to take 20, that's a matter of cost. It doesn't matter what the hourly rate is. The one who takes 20 weeks is likely going to be more expensive. We are more expensive. We probably have the highest hourly rate computed of anyone that most of our clients are going to talk to. But when you look at the full picture of the cost, you will end up spending the same or less with us that you do with somebody else. And if you just drill down as fast as possible to what that hourly rate is, it's not going to give you an accurate picture of the full cost. There, I did it. Move on to the next one.
No, I have a question, because one thing about the opinionated thoughtbot is that I don't need to be the same opinion, right? I don't need to have the same opinion, but I do. But I have a question. So if we don't provide hourly rates, hourly rates, what do we provide? What do we?
Okay, that's great. So what we do is the majority of our people that we work with give their full effort for the week. And so we have a weekly rate. We also have longer term projects where we're working on one thing all month. And so we have a monthly rate. And we give our full effort for the month for that, and it has an hourly and it has a monthly rate. Now, strictly speaking, you can boil that down to an hourly rate. And when clients really need an hourly rate, we're able to give an approximate hourly rate. But again, it's not the full picture of what the cost is going to be.
So just imagine I'm a client and I'm in different sales calls, and I do have or there are some sales calls planned. What would you advise me to look out for?
So the way that we would always want to approach things is get an understanding of what the work to be done is. And based on my experience and seeing lots of different things, then even just after a 30-minute conversation, I'm able to sort of put you and say, here's an estimate for, this is going to take 8 to 10 weeks and it's going to cost you between this and this range. Does that match your budget? That's the kind of conversation that is better to have, because then you're talking about real concrete things that are going to be accomplished together and how much they're going to cost. And that is much more of a meaningful way to talk about whether something is worth it or not. And then what we do from there is, for most projects, we get started with a very quick discovery and refinement phase. So if we're building a new product, that'll typically look like a product design sprint. And so we take that first week and we say, okay, we established this timeline and the budget. We're doing the design sprint now where we're prototyping, we're learning, we're testing that prototype with real people over the course of 1 week. And at the end of the week, we have a much better picture of what the product is actually going to be. So we confirm and refine all of the estimates and raise any issues early, but oftentimes it's just getting more and more concrete. And then we're able to do that on a regular basis throughout our work together. On client projects where it's more of a ongoing, we're working on an existing product, either implementing new features or improvements, it still has the same shape. We say, what do we want to accomplish together? Okay, that sounds like this big of a problem, and we can put this budget and cost together for it. Does that match your expectations? Great. Okay, we can get started next week. Now, it's a continual process of refining the estimates, making sure that things are on track for the overall budget that was established. And that is the kind of working relationship that is ideal, whether you work with thoughtbot or not. That's the kind of relationship you want to have, because the alternative is terrible. It's you're just throwing things over the wall. A group of people is churning away at them, and then they're tossing it back over to you. And no one wants to work in that kind of environment.
No, we don't. And you said something very important at the beginning, that thoughtbot, we tend to have a direct communication with clients when we are on a project, and the continuous refinement. And I think this is something that's not granted, like it's not provided by other consultancy agencies. I think this is something unique, at least in my experience.
Yeah, and I guess that takes us to another opinion, which was inherent in this. And it's not one that we prepped in advance, but like that everyone should be able to talk directly with the client and work directly with the client. So, and that is very different but that is a requirement of being at thoughtbot, and it is an expectation of our team.
I absolutely love that, because I do have opinions. I do like to communicate, and I do like to talk, and so for me, this is good. I know that it sometimes can be tricky, because when I'm the client, usually I might not be used to talk to the developer about some feature implementation or whatever. Yeah. But at thoughtbot, we are quite diverse in that. So I think that's and
that's really important too, because when you have developers and designers who are able to actually talk directly with clients, that actually ties back to the full picture of the cost. When we understand what is being done, when we get an opportunity to ask questions and maybe even push back a little bit, we can uncover a better, simpler, faster way to accomplish the business goal. You say, oh, instead of spending all week doing this thing that you told me to do, I've asked a few questions, talked to you through it, and realized I can solve this in a much better way. Sound good? Great. Let's do that.
Yeah. Sorry, I agree.
Well, that's the thing, Svenja, is that whenever I talk about these things, or, you go and you read our playbook or whatever, they're just sort of common sense things. When you say them, it's like, well, why wouldn't you want it to be that way? And I think the answer is, a lot of people get in their own way by overcomplicating things or thinking things need to work a certain way because of the ways that they've worked in the past. And that this simpler, more common sense approach is not only better overall, but it's much more fulfilling in terms of working with each other. So when we work with clients, the things that they say at the end of working together is, I just liked working with you. I liked the people. I liked working with you. It was better to work with you than to not. And then we also often hear that, like, you made us better by working with you. And that's great to hear too.
Yeah, definitely. Who doesn't want to hear that? Let's go to the next one.
I don't know what the next one is.
You had something about implementing your idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, we touched on that a little bit, which is you don't want someone to just implement your idea.
Okay, I have to stop you there. Why not? I mean, I'm convinced that my idea is the best in the world. I decided, okay, I'm fine with the weekly hour raid, not weekly hour, weekly raid. Now I want you, the experts, to implement my idea because it's great. Why not?
I'm sure your idea is great. I'm sure that you've done all the research that needs to happen. You've talked with real users about the challenge that they face. You've run them through prototypes that test your assumption, that you can learn from by watching them and talking with real users for your application and learning about what product they will actually use and pay for. I'm sure you've done all of those things.
Obviously, yes.
So, great. You don't need any of that. Now it's time to start designing and building things for real. I'm sure that if I uncover a better, faster way to achieve the goal, you don't want me to come to you and tell you about that way, right? You just want me to implement what you've done, right? Or what you've decided.
No, maybe I want to hear it, but I want...
But if I'm just supposed to be working on a backlog of things that are already decided for me, I should just be churning away at that, right, Svenja? Without asking any questions.
No, I don't want to answer. I don't want anyone to ask questions. I just want everyone to work full time. Okay, I see where it goes. How would that look like? So what do I want?
So by understanding the work to be done, and I don't mean just like how to implement it, by truly understanding the why behind things, developers and designers are more empowered on your behalf to make an incredible product, to make improvements. Because when they understand things, then they can be empowered to say, I've got this idea for how we can do this better, faster, cheaper than just implementing what was on the ticket. And that's the kind of virtuous feedback cycle that you want when you're building a product, when you have a team. Whether you work with thoughtbot or you have your own team, you don't want an environment where everything just flows to the ticket and it is expected to just be implemented without understanding the business reasons, the why, everything behind it. That is an environment where not only is it less productive in the long run, even though you think that it's more productive, it's less productive in the long run because people are less fulfilled in their work, but also they're churning away on potentially the wrong thing to do in the wrong way.
Yeah, you mentioned product design sprints as well. So this would be like for the research recovery, not recovery. My English is so fabulous today. And so this would be
many people, whether they be founders or large existing businesses, for one reason or another, they don't actually talk to real users, which is wild when you think about it. And even if they think that they have channels, we have customer success teams, they're getting support requests in, they do all these things. It is our job as designers and developers to come up with solutions to those problems and have opinions and to design potential solutions. But doing that without then validating or talking with real actual users and say, here's the solution that we're thinking, or don't even ask them the question, just say, I want you to watch you work through this prototype. It takes 30 minutes to do that. That 30 minutes spent can potentially save hours, weeks, months of wasted time doing something incorrectly. Why wouldn't you check to make sure that you're on the right track? No matter how great your idea is or how opinionated you are, not talking to users is not showing the track you're on to users early and putting real working software in the hands of real people as quickly as possible to double check is really foolish.
Yes, not only to users, this goes to my always constant belief, never assume anything because you can't until you are 100% sure that it is. That's why we write tests, because you can't, I assume it works like this. It's just like, it's not enough. So I assume it won't break everything and send out emails to whoever. No, you have to test it. And you also always have to make sure, and that's goes into the continuous feedback loop with clients, that you are on the right track, that expectations are aligned between the client and the developer and the designer. Yeah, I do like I asked the question. When did you come up with the idea of investment time?
We've been doing investment time, I think, since 2008, maybe a little bit earlier. So we were, at the time, not only were we not taking investment time in terms of what it is, concentrated, regular time set aside for improving ourselves and the company and our community, but we were also, as individuals, splitting our time across multiple client projects. And so it was even worse. And so in the concept of investment time emerged as we started to really work on how our scheduling and focus on client work worked. The first change we actually made was we said, instead of splitting our time across 3 different clients or 2 different clients, what if we focused our effort on one, as an individual, on one client? And what we found was, as we did that, the speed at which we were able to accomplish our work with clients was so much higher. So we would estimate that something would take X number of weeks, and we would split our time across multiple things. Those estimates would be right in terms of total amount of time, but taking 10 weeks to do something by splitting our time across multiple projects and instead condensing the schedule and accomplishing that for the client in 4 weeks. It sounds obvious in retrospect, but especially at the time, a lot of agencies, and a lot of agencies still do, is they split their time across multiple projects, and that actually makes them less productive. Not only that, but you have the context switching of switching between clients. So once we started to rearrange our schedule so that we were concentrated, focus on one client at a time, and we started to achieve results much better and faster with less context switching, then sort of the ability to think holistically about how we were spending our time and how we were what we were investing in sort of emerged into our sort of ability to digest how that would work and actually make it happen.
Amazing. I'm happy. I am very, very glad that it exists. I'm, yeah. the opinionated thoughtbot is a result of investment time as well. So,
yeah. So much at
happy.
thoughtbot has been a result of investment time.
Yeah. We are at time. Is there anything left that we did not discuss that you want to let everyone know, talk about? If so, then this is the time to do so.
No, I think that's good.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Chad, for joining. And let us know, all of you out there in the comments, what you think and what are your positive objections. Challenge us. We love to share our opinion and discuss them. See everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.